Here we go. I'm going to show you this church. All right, and I'm going to start talking to you about my experience at this church. And I'm sorry I'm not going in any chronological order, like from what I said, we needed to start way back when. But I'm here, so I need to record this. A couple of years ago, I found this church. And the pastor gave me and my husband our premarital counseling. And I'm gonna tell you, it was the only time I ever felt in this church the most accepted. It to me, and maybe it was just because I was going to get married and have a baby, and this whole thing about having a new family, so maybe I was just in a state of elation. But it really seemed like, oh, maybe I have arrived. Maybe I really have found a church home. I don't. So, this place, they had a baby shower for me. This is a tiny church. It's called New Hope Baptist Church in Independence, Missouri. And here's the thing. All these new things were happening to me in my life, in my personal life, and then having this church. And this is when God started shouting at me, "Come out from among them. Touch not the unclean thing, and then I will receive you." And I'm like, "Lord, what are you doing? Are you telling me not to go to this church? Or are you telling me to get out of this family?" It didn't make sense to me. And it was a process. I just didn't understand, okay? But at this church, weird things just started happening, okay? It was getting at my spirit. It was trying to get my attention. I couldn't put my finger on it. And that's how it works. When there's a strong delusion or a strong deception or some works of darkness happening behind the scenes that we can't see, that's how it feels. It feels in your instincts. You just can't put your finger on it, and you just have to wait and see, right? I was only at this place for 1 year. But some of the weird things that happened were, but this pastor isn't marrying people. He made an exception for us for whatever reason. Later that year, I wanted marital counseling. I just wanted to do everything so perfect and so right, and I wanted to be a Proverbs 31 woman. I really believed that if you didn't have any wisdom in your surrounding, in your family, the church is the place to get that from your brothers and your sisters. And I was requesting marital help, marital counseling, a pair of third eyes, a third party to make sure we got on the right track. And these deacons, they didn't want to get involved. And I didn't take it personal because like I said, something was in my spirit saying to me, something is just not right here. You don't know what it is. You can't see behind the scenes. You just need to wait. And next thing you know, all of the deacons in this place just up and left. And as far as I know to this day, they didn't tell anybody why. They just abandoned the church. And I know I had some discussion with one of the ladies who was the deacon's wife. And, she was like nonchalant. Oh, yeah, we moved over to another town. And, that's the life of, that's the pastoral life. Okay. And people weren't discussing the matter with each other. It's a tiny, tiny place. So, one of the last times I was here, the last 2 times that I recall, some weird things were happening. Like, the light over the baptism tub, it wasn't on that day. And it just didn't sit right with me. I know that sounds silly, right? It's one of those things. And then you know how everyone does the procession thing out the door, meets the pastor at the door and shakes his hand and says goodbye or whatever. Well, this particular day, this pastor, he was shaking my hand, okay? He was shaking my hand and he was looking this way. He could not look at me in my eyes, ever, at any point of that handshaking. I just, maybe it was the fact that I was touching his hand. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie called Prophecy with Christopher Walken? It was like, when you touch people, it's like, whoa, you get some weird feeling, like you get some weird insight. I couldn't see anything other than, whoa. Something is really not right here. Shortly thereafter, and I mean like maybe a week or 2 or within that month, I turn on the news and sure enough, there's all this yellow tape around this building. And detectives are taking boxes out of, papers and evidence or whatever. And this is going to sound strange, but I jumped for joy because I was like, oh, Lord, I knew something was wrong. But now, what is it? What's wrong? What's the problem here? And I wasn't attending this place anymore. So I had to wait 7 months. Everyone had to wait 7 months to find out what was the matter, what was the truth, what had happened here. And I found one guy, I think his name is Casey Fighter. He's like a private investigator dude in our area, and I found him just by digging online. So there was, these investigations, and the revelation was that this pastor, by the way, his name is David K. Love, okay? That he had been in this church for 10 years. At the start of the time that he had this church, he started an affair with a lady. And nobody knew. How do you have an affair for 10 years and nobody knows? Well, what ended up happening, he's in prison now. And so is his girlfriend. Because he murdered one of the persons that worked here, which was his girlfriend's husband, okay? And if you want to see more details on it, you can go on YouTube and look at keyword searches, investigative discovery called Love Thy Neighbor. So what is my point to you? My point to you is that we need to be having these discussions. We need to have this as a discussion in America. We need to be talking openly about this. You've had these experiences. I'm not the only one. your pastor could have been guilty for embezzlement or, molestation or rape. I mean, I don't know, okay? These things, if you're even fortunate at some point, sometimes these things are exposed in your town on the news. And if I owned a computer, I would be doing these investigative documentaries. I would be showing you how prevalent this is, how it's connected to the Ezekiel 34 prophecy that God is going to cause the shepherds to cease from feeding the flock. To me, Matthew 24, the first couple of scriptures where God says, or the disciples say to God, Jesus, look at the buildings. And Jesus just says something like, not one stone will be left unturned. I mean, what's underneath a stone but darkness? There's just, God is so mysterious. He's so mysterious. And it's just the way that God works, He doesn't fill your mind with every single detail that needs to be seen. That's just not how the Lord works. He works through faith. Faith is the evidence of things unseen. It's about trusting His word. And He's really about protecting His sheep. I mean, especially now, especially when there's all of this evil wickedness happening in our churches. No accountability, people. Zero. So what's my end story to you about this place? Am I special that God is giving me this word? No. Doesn't make me special. But what I see in the Word of God is that this is just what people do. It's the people who choose to have these things, to have their ears tickled. It's the people, okay? The people are the foundation of these churches. It's the people, okay? Why? Because the people that have attended here before probably still attend here, and at the time, they just went and got a new pastor. Because that's what people do, especially the church people. They make excuses for people's sin. Especially when they are in significant positions. They just say, well, people are just human. No, this is not the point, people. This is, when God says, let the dead bury their dead. When God says, there's 5 virgins who don't have oil in their lamps. That's these people. Look at that. The cops are coming. Oh, geez. So I gotta go. I have less than 50 seconds. And we need to have this as a discussion, people. I beg you, please. We have to start talking about these experiences, and we need to parallel them to the works of the Lord. That this is a timely matter. This is current events. Let's stop pushing this truth away from us, Lord. I'm getting anxious because that cop is just sitting there. All right, I gotta go. Bye.